This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. You can explore new skills and deepen existing passions and get lost in creativity. They have many classes on woodworking, like how to make your own furniture and how to set up a woodworking shop and how to sharpen chisels. I recently took a class taught by Matt Balasai, and he talked about going viral and how to make content people want to share. He had a great personality and was an excellent instructor. On Skillshare, there is no ads, and they are always launching new premium classes. It is less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership, so you can explore your creativity. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. So a year ago, my uncle, he gave me these set of these old rusty wrenches. And these aren't any wrenches. These wrenches belong to my grandfather. And unfortunately, my grandfather passed away before I was old enough to be able to remember him. So in this video, I thought it would be kind of cool to come up with a way that I can display these wrenches, but also display them in a way that I can still use them if I wish to, because I like these wrenches because they're very thin and narrow, and that can be handy sometimes. So I think I'd still like to be able to use them, but I also want to display them. Before we start this video, I just want to thank Steven Boots for buying me a coffee last week. That was awesome. And if you want me to give you a shout out, you can also do so by buying me a coffee. The link is in the description below. It's a one-time thing. Unlike Patreon, you can just buy me one coffee. You can buy me 2, 3, 4, 5, as many as you would like. And if you do so, I will give you a shout out in my next video. So my plan is I want to arrange these from going from biggest to smallest. And I'm gonna make a board that these will stick to. And I'm gonna use magnets for that. That way I can still grab them. And also I'm gonna put a nice wooden frame around it. So this should be a simple project. Let's go look through all my scraps and see what I can find to make this. So what I have here is a bunch of maple, and these are actually the offcuts from the desktop video that I made. I'm just gonna plane these all down and rip them down to a uniform thickness. And then I'm just gonna glue them all up to make a panel that is gonna be the right size that we need. So while we're waiting for that glue to dry, let's move on to making the frame. And I'm gonna cut, plane, and joint the wood until it's about 7/8 thick by 1¼ inch. And then I'm gonna head back to the table saw and I'm gonna cut an 1/8 inch groove all the way down the top of it. And I'm gonna inset a piece of maple, and that'll be a nice little contrast. I'm gonna let the glue dry on that maple, and then I'm gonna hand plane it down till it's flush. Before we move on and route our profile onto our frame pieces, we first wanna bring our panel down to its final thickness. And I was planning on doing a 1/2 inch. I've kind of changed my mind now, and I'm gonna go thinner. I'm gonna go 3/8 of an inch. Now that we have that panel planed down to 3/8 of an inch, we're gonna move over to the table saw now, and we're gonna cut a 3/8 dado into our frame, and that is gonna accept the panel. I'm not gonna bother putting my dado stack in the table saw. I'm just gonna take a series of passes until I get 3/8 of an inch. I'm thinking I'm going to add some profiling to this. I'm thinking about adding a chamfer on the inside edge, and then on the back edge, I'm just going to do about an 1/8 inch round over. I think that's going to look good. I'm going to do the chamfer on the table saw, and then I'm going to do the little round over on my router table. Now with the molding profile done, and I'm pretty happy with how that looks, I think it's gonna look pretty sharp. Now we're gonna move on to cutting our panel down to size. I'm gonna be keeping it the same width that it is. I'm just gonna trim it down to length. I'm gonna lay out the wrenches on top first and see what is gonna work for length, and then I'll trim it to that size. And then I'll take my measurements off of the panel to cut the parts for the frame. Before I go ahead and glue the frame together, trapping the panel inside, I'm just going to take a moment and lay out the wrenches in the order and the way that I want them. And I'm going to trace them out with my pencil, that way I know where they lay. And I'm going to go on my drill press, and I'm going to do a little countersink where I'm going to set a little magnet that is going to hold the wrenches on. This magnet will also allow the wrenches to be removable in case I want to use them. Now that I have the holes drilled and the pencil lines are sanded off, I am now going to attach the frame. So to glue it together, I am just going to use some CA glue and some activator. It's quick drying and I can get those miters to line up perfectly. And then after I got that done, I'm going to go to my table saw and I'm going to cut a spline in each corner for a spline. I let those splines dry overnight and then I cut them off flush and sanded them down smooth. Now all it's left to do is to give everything else a final sand. I did this with 220 grit sandpaper and I just hand sanded it. I then went ahead and added 3 coats of white bond polyurethane. I really like this stuff because it goes on super easy and it dries fast. Once the polyurethane had dried, I then went ahead and I glued in the magnets and I just used some CA glue for this. So this is what I'm going to be using to hang it, and I'm going to use 2 of these on the back, and you can get these at your hardware store. They're called self-leveling picture hangers, that's what they are, so if you're looking for something like that, that's what they're called. We're just going to use 2 of these. Little tip, these nails are really short. If you don't like smashing your fingers with the hammer, just pinch them in a pair of needle nose pliers. So I forgot to hit the record button when I put these nails in, but all they are is just roofing nails. They're overkill. You don't need to use roofing nails. You can use something smaller, but it's important to make sure that the nail that you're using has a head on it so that it can hook onto that little lip there. So now for the tricky part, just trying to get it hung up. I think it's gotta go. There, now we just have to hang our wrenches. So yeah, that was a fun project. It only took me a couple evenings and I'm really happy with the result. It turned out really well. I really like the contrast with the maple and the walnut and the nice little inlay I did and the splines. It just looks really nice. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you found it entertaining. And if you're new to my channel, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss when I upload a new video. And like always, we'll see you in the next one.